Hey, what's going on, e-com entrepreneurs? Nick here. Today I'm going to get into one of the final video modules of this beginning series, really the A to Z Scratch to Profit store. And this one is going to be custom audiences and lookalike audiences. Originally I was going to do two separate ones, but they're such small, short topics that I'm just going to just go through them all right now together. All right, so custom audiences are really powerful because what they allow you to do is create an audience based off traffic to your store. All right, and the way that I do it with a general store is I create audiences for each of my most popular products. Okay, and what that does for me is it gives me an audience to either retarget people that went to that page and viewed that product but didn't purchase, or it allows me to create a lookalike audience from people who viewed that product, or even create a lookalike audience from people who purchased that product. And then as well, you can use those lookalike audiences in the future not only to retarget, but if you have other items you sell in that same niche, then you could create a lookalike audience to test new products to that same audience. Okay, so where I'm going to start is by showing you just the different types of audiences you can create. All right, so now let me pull up my store really quickly. All right, so we are in the store today. Now I'm in the store. Here we go. We're going to go to the products. And let's take a look first at let's just pull up all the products. So there's the Bohemian Elephant. Let me just type them in. There's the weed socks. There's the mermaid blanket. All right, these are my three best selling products right now. All of them are doing okay. I mean, they're all only running at like $5 or $10 budgets still, but they're all doing okay. The three of those are responsible for me basically doing $100 days now for the most part. And there are the three products on which I plan to continue focusing. Okay, so each of these we want to create. Basically, I have a lot of products in my store, right? But I don't create an audience for every single product. That would just take a long time. You could do that if you really wanted to, and you would just have you'd be flooded with audiences in here. But half of them will never amount to anything because if you don't get enough visitors to that page or that product, then it's not going to become a real audience, right? It's just going to be, it's just going to look like this. It's just going to say audience too small, So I only ever pick the ones that seem to be getting a lot of traffic. Now you say, well, Nick, how do you know? Aren't you going to lose out on some of that traffic if you wait for a while to see if it's popular and then create the audience? And actually, no, that's not true. As you can see, I created these audiences last night. It's November 2nd today, right now as I record this, and I created these audiences last night on the 1st, and they're already populated. So what you're able to do when you create an audience is set it to contain anybody who visited within the last 180 days. All right, your pixel is as long as you have your pixel installed properly, your pixel is always tracking all the traffic that comes in and out of your store. All right, so as long as you get your audience set up within 6 months of launching that product, then you're gonna be able to still create the. Now I wouldn't wait 6 months, of course, but I launched the weed socks about 3 weeks ago, and it's tracking all of that traffic for me. Or most of it anyway, to get 1,100 views in this audience. All right, and you can see, all of these, it basically brought it up to speed. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let me show you the three different types of audiences that you can really kind of create here. All right, ignore these that are already in here for now. So when you come in here, you'll go to Create Audience, Custom Audience, and you see there's a couple different things here. I'm not really going to talk about the other ones. Apps, obviously, none of us are creating apps right now that I know of, so I'm not going to even cover this. Briefly, customer file is email addresses. You can upload email addresses, and Facebook will match those addresses with Facebook profiles if it can and turn that into an audience. So if you have an email address or an email list for your business, you can bring that into Facebook and try to create an audience to target those people on Facebook. And then engagement is a new one. This allows you to create a list of people based on engaging with your content. So could be useful in some situations, but for the most part, website traffic is what I find the most useful. If you have a niche store, you can create a master audience of anybody that visits your store. Very simple. All right. It's just going to base it on it's just going to base it on your pixel. So anybody who visits my website here, the Bold and Social Store pixel, it'll include anybody in that. Now, I have a general store, so this doesn't do me very good because I have all kinds of different niches, and one audience full of a bunch of different niches isn't any good. The whole point of a custom audience is you're able to get an audience based around a specific common action, right? So if you had a cat store, for example, then that would work because anybody who visits your website is obviously interested in cats. So to get a master audience of all of those people could be very beneficial to you whenever you have a new product to launch, right? But for a general store, if I have people coming in, some of them like weed socks, some of them like Bohemian tapestry, some of them like these mermaid blankets, putting an audience together of all three of those is not going to do me any good because, the next product I launch, 2/3 of that audience may not be interested. And so it makes much more sense to focus in on a product or a list of products and create an audience off of that, all right, which you can do. So I go to custom combination, all right? And the very basic one, most basic, is to traffic that visits a certain page. So you can do it by the URL. So you can come to whatever product you're looking at. If we go to the Bohemian Tapestries one, we would come to this product here, and then we would put it in here. So anybody that goes to this page, with a URL containing that, which is only going to be one page on my website, then they will be added to this list. Always set this to 180 days. Include past website traffic. Absolutely. That's how I was able to bring all those past visitors in. And basically this right here would target, or I'm sorry, not target. This would be anybody. Anybody that goes to that page will get put into this audience. All right. So the other thing that you can do, this would be, so what I'm trying to say here is this would be regardless of if they purchase or if they add the cart or whatever they do. So this could be good for a lookalike audience. You always want to have like a purpose for what you're going to use that audience for, right? So if I get this, I already created the audience here, views, right? Tapestry views. So if we would call this tapestry views, because this is everybody that viewed this product, okay? There's no exclusions. There's no, there's no caveats to it. All right, so now if we come here, though, let me show you what I mean. We could do a custom combination for that same URL, but we could add an exclusion. Say we only want people that viewed so that we can retarget them on Facebook, right? You don't want people who purchased. You only want people who viewed and maybe add to cart or initiate checkout, but they didn't actually purchase, because obviously you don't want to retarget people that purchased. So you would come down here and you could exclude the event for purchase. All right, so now you have everybody who saw this product but did not complete a purchase. So that would be tapestry views no purchase. However you want to name it, so that you know. This is another way to name it. I think that's what I did here. Views. I did a whole bunch of stuff here. Ignore that. Tapestry views no purchase. All right. So this also, I know, includes add to cart and initiate checkout. It just doesn't include purchase. So I could create that. So again, these are different purposes though. This one would be to create a lookalike audience because I want everybody in that audience, whether they purchased or they didn't purchase, I want everybody who showed interest in this product by going to that page. This one would be for retargeting. So I don't want people who purchased because I don't want to retarget people who already purchased, right? So let's try a different one that we could do and get even more specific if you wanted to. You don't have to do all this. So we come in, we put the URL in. So we're still dealing with the same product, right? Now let's add the exclusion of purchase and add to cart and add new condition. Wait, not that. Initiate checkout. All right. Now, if we do this, this is a views only. So this is strictly people that only viewed the product. Say you want to target people who viewed and people who added to cart differently. Well, you could do this then. This would be tapestry views only. All right. So they only viewed. Anybody who went a step further to add to cart or initiate checkout or purchase, those people are excluded from this audience. All right. Now, what if we want to do, in that example, say we want views only, and then we want traffic, of course, then we would want to retarget the people who added the cart differently. So for that, we could do it like this. So when we want to start basing it off of a specific event, that's what we use this for. You can choose an event here. So say, again, we only want to target people that added the cart, a new condition, or initiate checkout. Okay, so here we go. This is, and then we add the exclusion down here. So basically what this is for people that only added the cart or initiated checkout. So it's going to not include people that viewed the product but didn't add the cart or initiate checkout, right? So this is a way that we can target by a specific event in case these people got this far but didn't purchase, and say you want to reach out to them very specifically with a certain message in the way that you advertise to them. All right, so what we would have to do here is we use something called a content ID. At the end of every product, you'll notice this little set of numbers, all right? It's always going to be different and unique to each product. So you'll take that set of numbers, and that is the parameter that you'll use because it's called a content ID, all right? And you'll add the value right here. Same thing here. So that now what that does is it's just another way of identifying that product, all right? Instead of using the URL for this, because when you do it by event, you have to use a content ID. So for this one, we're specifically telling this audience to only include people that add to cart or initiate checkout on this content ID for that product, all right? So that's the audience we're going to get. Now, again, if this is going to be for retargeting purposes, which is really the only reason you would create this audience in the first place, then the exclusion that we want to add down here is purchase. All right. Now, you don't necessarily need to add the content ID down here because it doesn't matter. We don't want people who purchase, period. So you can just add that event in there. And what that does now is sets it so that we're only getting those people that abandon their cart before purchasing. All right. And then I would name this, basically that's the same thing I created here, which is tapestry, add to cart, no purchase. All right. Now, just as a note, something like this is only really going to be beneficial for you if you have an audience with, or I'm sorry, if you have a product that's getting a lot of traffic, all right? Because something like this, to even make sense of using this, you know, you would just have to have, a lot of traffic coming in. Otherwise, this is going to be a small number of people that add the cart and don't purchase. But for like a free plus shipping offer, for example, this could be very beneficial because abandoned carts are very high. So you could have the add to cart, and you could be targeting simply people that started the checkout process but didn't finish it, maybe because they thought shipping was too high, which is usually the case, and you want to go back and try to get money out of that. Maybe you create an ad that offers a lower shipping price, right? Something like that, or you throw in an extra for them to try and scoop back some of that traffic that you lost on those abandoned carts. So it can be beneficial if you're getting a lot of abandoned carts. Okay, so like I could do that with the weed socks as well. Because I actually do think I've had a lot of abandoned carts with the weed socks. So let's create one really quickly because I didn't do that last night. So again, we're going to do the event based on the weed socks. This is our product ID for the weed socks. So we come here, the event we want is add to cart, add this parameter, add new condition. You can see it says or, so that's what a new condition is. It's this event or this event. So that means it's including both of them. The reason we do both add to cart and initiate checkout is simply so we make sure we're covering both ends, because I mean, they're really kind of the same thing in my opinion, but Facebook thinks they're different. So, you just want to make sure you're covering. All right, add the exclusion event of a purchase, 180 days, and now this is going to be our weed socks, add to cart. Or you could even name this, because essentially what this is an abandoned cart audience. So you could name it whatever you wanted to. I just usually name it by the event. Ultimately, you're the one that has to understand your audiences, because when you've started running a lot of products, you're going to have a lot of audiences in here, and you got to know what they are by looking at them, right? So those are really the last one that I wanted to talk about here that you can do is a specific event for purchase. All right, so say you want to track your buyer's audience for any product. So for the weed socks, for example, I want to create a buyer's audience. I add the content ID. Again, because you're doing an event, you're doing it by content ID. So we do purchase. Then there's no exclusions you have to add, because this one's very specific, right? It's only people who purchased on this content ID, 180 days. And then I would call this weed socks buyers. All right, and then that could be used for a lookalike audience, right? Or you could use this as a custom audience to run your product in the future as a small test. Obviously, unless you have a super hot product, this isn't going to be a crazy number. But once it gets to at least 20 to 50, I think it's 20. Yeah, you have to have at least 20 people to use it in an ad. You have to have at least 100 people to use it for creating a lookalike audience, which we're going to talk about next. So those are really the different types of audiences that I would create. Now, the other one that I don't do often, but that you could create, is if you wanted to do like a niche audience, all right? So again, in here, you would come to custom combination, and then basically you would use this condition function. So say we wanted to do one for the weed niche that we're in. Trying to think of all the different items that I have. Let's open them up. All right, so I have 4 items in this collection. All right, another way I could have done it, I guess, would be to come to collections and just see the smoking section collection. Because I have one more, but this is fine for now. We're just gonna, you know what? I'll add it in there. All right. So all 5 products are included now. Okay. So basically, what I'll do is I'll open each one up. I'll take the custom URL and I'll put it in here, and I'll add a new condition, and I'll do this for each one of them. I just did it for this one, huh? Right? Yeah, I did. I have sold one of each of these products, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. I've only marketed, I don't think I sold a Rasta beanie yet. I just put this on here. And then one more condition. Is the wheat socks. All right, so now, and you could go back and edit this and at any point in time to add more URLs after it's been created. But now what this will do is you see it's or in here every time. So any traffic that meets the following conditions, this URL or this URL or this URL or this URL or this URL will be added to my audience of weed niche audience, right? And so now anybody that visits any one of these pages gets added in here, and it'll create an audience on that I could use in the future to specifically, number one, I could create a lookalike audience from it and test that out. And number two, if this audience grows large enough over time, which if you're running a general store over time, then it absolutely could. If it grows large enough over time, you can just specifically use this audience as your first level of testing to see if a product is going to have merit with people that you already know are some of the most passionate people in that niche, because they're the people who have actually responded to your ads in the past from all the interests that you've tested to look at the products that you're promoting. All right, so once you have that down, the next part is understanding how to create a lookalike audience, which is also very simple, however very powerful when you use them. All right, so the one that we're going to use, actually I'm going to do all of them because I do want to test all of them. All right, so let's start with mermaid blanket views. All right, so you would just come here and select the check mark, and then you would create lookalike audience. Okay. I don't know, when you select the check mark, it's supposed to do it automatically, but it didn't, so whatever. All right, so mermaid blanket views is the source. Country, of course, United States, unless you're planning on targeting a different country, like I could do United Kingdom, and it would be able to create me a lookalike based on this audience, except targeted to the United Kingdom, which could be a good idea, actually, but I'm not quite ready for international marketing yet. All right, so United States, and then usually in the United States, no matter what you choose or what your audience is, it's always 1% is going to be about 2 million people. All right. Now, here's the cool thing that you can do with lookalikes. You can do different percentages based on relevance. So just to explain this for you, I mean, Facebook does right here, with 1% being those who most likely match your source. So your source audience is, of course, the one that you've collected from your audience right here. And then the lookalike, you start at 1% and go all the way out as far as you want to based on well, it's not letting me do that for some reason. But generally, what it'll do is you'll be able to go as far out as you want to based on relevance. Up to 10 is going to get you up to 10 million people, but it's going to be a very, very, very broad audience. And, this is where you're most specific. I always start with 1%. You can go back and create more percentages. You can also do it from the very beginning, where if you click show advanced options, it'll give you the ability to create up to 6 lookalike audiences. All right. And then you can stagger them however you want to. So generally, if I was doing this, I'd probably do it like this or something similar, maybe like this. So what this allows you to do is, you can see here, Facebook, what it'll do is it'll break it out for you. It'll break out a 1% lookalike, a 1 to 2% lookalike, 2 to 4%, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10. So that gives me 6 different audience chunks of a total of 2, 4, 8, 12, 16, 24 million people. So obviously these ones down here are going to be, kind of hit and shoot. What am I trying to say? They're going to be kind of like throwing darts in the dark. You're not going to know really until you test them if they do very well. You know, for a product like this, I'm not going to lie, they could possibly do well because this is a very broad application product because it's a blanket. All right. So it is possible that these audiences could do well into the millions and millions like that. So for the mermaid blanket views, I am going to create multiple audiences. All right. And I'm probably going to test the first 3 of them originally to see what they do. Now, the reason it's more beneficial to do it like that is because there's no overlap when you do it like that. Facebook is bracketing each one as opposed to creating a 1% and then going back and creating a 2%. Well, when you do that, that 2% audience that you created is going to overlap the 1% that you already used, if that makes sense. So that's the advantage to doing it that way. And you don't have to do 6. You can do only 3, you know, whatever you want to do. All right. And then for some products, you know, like the weed socks, for example, we go to weed socks views. I'm not really too concerned about trying this all the way out because I don't think that there's going to be people all the way into the, you know, tens of millions that are interested in buying this. I think this is more like a 1 to 5 million audience at the largest that's interested in buying weed socks, right? So I'll just create a 1% for this one. Same thing with the Bohemian Tapestry. Views. Create a lookalike for that. Now, these lookalikes aren't populated yet. They take a couple minutes. But that is an overview of how you would do everything from creating the custom audiences to creating the lookalikes. All right. So this was a short video, less than half an hour long, and it's really just meant to show you how these things work. They're very simple to use and understand once you've seen them in action, but they can be very powerful. This needs to be an absolute necessity in your marketing arsenal when it comes to scaling your products because you're going to lookalikes can create an entire new revenue stream for you when you're using them properly, and they allow you to retarget. They allow you to scale, and they allow you to test products in the future. I've even had products in the past where I have created a lookalike audience off of them, and then when I launch a new product in that niche, the actual Facebook interests audience didn't work. But when I tested the lookalike audience for that niche, it did work. So without a lookalike, I wouldn't have even been able to sell that product. But with a lookalike, I was able to make money because it was more dialed in for that niche than the actual interests were. So that's where they can become really powerful in the way that you use them because you are actually tracking people who showed interest in your products, and then Facebook does the rest. They're just doing their magic with their pixel, you know, and creating that audience so that you can use that in your marketing. So questions, comments, ideas, thoughts, feedback, you can leave that below. It's all pretty straightforward. It's just, honestly, lookalikes are a matter of testing the percentages, testing them against conversion for add to cart, testing them against conversion for purchase. You know, it's all a matter of testing. Different lookalikes have worked differently for all kinds of different people. I've seen all kinds of different examples and case studies of the way lookalikes have worked. Generally, for me, 1% and 2% work the best, optimized for add to cart, and usually off of the views. Purchase lookalikes don't really work that well for me, purchase audiences. Usually it's the views audience that works well for me, and I create my lookalikes based off of that. And then I'll show you how I use my lookalikes in a different video when I talk about ads and scaling, because that's going to be probably the next video before I do custom merchandise to kind of wrap out this series. So I'm going to end this video here. Again, feel free to share or ask anything below. Hope you found this valuable. I look forward to speaking with you in the next video.